Welcome to our channel. Today we're going to be diving into Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh, yeah, this book.
Yeah,
That's a classic.
yeah, and it really kind of shakes things up when we think about money and success,
Yeah. Yeah.
the whole idea that
Yeah.
a good education is going to guarantee some kind of financial security.
Yeah. Well, what makes Rich Dad, Poor Dad so interesting is that he uses his own life as a case study, right? He grew up with two father figures,
Yeah.
his own father and then his best friend's father and his own dad, even though he was highly educated, really struggled financially. But his friend's dad, he was this self-made entrepreneur,
Yeah.
and he had a totally different outlook on wealth. And so this contrast really sets the stage for the whole book.
It's almost like he's saying there's this whole other curriculum about money
Yeah.
that we don't get taught in school.
Exactly. And that's where Rich Dad, Poor Dad comes in, the whole thing about financial literacy,
Yeah.
which is something that most of us never really got in our traditional education. I mean, think about it. How much of your schooling was actually focused on managing money, investing, even understanding like assets and liabilities?
Yeah, honestly, not much.
Right.
I remember like a basic economics class,
Right.
but it wasn't like, here's your roadmap.
Right. And that lack of education can have real consequences,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He actually shares a story in the book about playing a board game with a bunch of really educated adults, and they were struggling with even the simplest accounting concepts.
Wow.
And then he also talks about his own son going to college and running into all this credit card debt.
Right.
And that kind of spurred him to be like, I gotta find a better way to teach my kids about money,
Right. It really makes you wonder how many people out there are struggling just because they never even got the basic tools to understand money.
Totally. And so Rich Dad, Poor Dad is like, here are the tools.
Yeah.
For example, one of the key things he really emphasizes is this difference between assets and liabilities, right?
Yeah.
Assets, that's what puts money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out of your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And he explains it in really simple language that anyone can understand.
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from challenging conventional wisdom.
Yeah.
Like when he says a house is not always an asset.
Yeah, that's the classic Kiyosaki shakeup, right?
Yeah.
He argues that for most people, their house is actually a liability.
Yeah.
They spend their lives paying for it.
Yeah.
All those mortgage payments, property taxes, that's money out of your pocket.
Oh, yeah.
He even says that most people work their whole lives paying for a house they never really own.
Yeah, it makes you reevaluate what you think an asset is, that's for sure.
Totally. It's like, don't just assume something's an asset because everybody says it is.
Right.
Look at it. Is it actually putting money in your pocket or is it taking money out?
Exactly. And that leads into, I think, another one of his core concepts, which is mind your own business.
Yes.
But it doesn't necessarily mean starting a company.
Right.
Right. It's
But
more like...
it's about building a stream of income from assets that are separate from your job.
Yes. Yes.
So think rental property, stocks, other investments that generate cash flow. It's having your money work for you instead of you working for money.
He uses the story of Ray Kroc to really hammer this home.
Yes. The founder of McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone thinks of McDonald's as this burger business.
Right.
But Kiyosaki's like, no. Kroc's real genius was that he acquired the land
The land, yeah.
that the McDonald's were built on.
Oh, wow.
So he was building this empire of income-producing real estate.
That's fascinating.
Right. Powerful example of how focusing on building assets can lead to long-term wealth.
It's interesting how he uses all these really real-world examples to illustrate his points.
Yeah.
And, it makes it relatable.
Totally.
You can understand it.
Yeah. And another key piece of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is this whole emphasis on overcoming fear and cynicism when it comes to money.
Right.
He argues that these negative emotions can really hold us back
Yeah.
from achieving financial success.
He tells the story about his friend Richard, who missed out on this great real estate deal because he was too afraid to pull the trigger.
Exactly. And that story really highlights how doubt can be expensive.
Yeah.
Like, fear can cause us to miss out on valuable opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not just about overcoming fear. It's also about, recognizing and managing greed.
Right.
He warns against the dangers of trying to get rich quick.
Right.
And he emphasizes the importance of long-term financial planning.
And that's where I think a lot of people struggle.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the hype of the latest investment trend or feel pressured to keep up with the Joneses.
Totally. And that's why it's so crucial to develop a strong financial foundation.
Yeah.
And make decisions that are based on your own goals and your own risk tolerance.
And speaking of that foundation, he also talks about the importance of paying yourself first.
Yes.
Now that sounds kind of counterintuitive at first. Aren't we supposed to like pay our bills first and then see what's left?
Yeah, that's the traditional approach, but Kiyosaki is like flip the script.
Right.
He argues that by paying yourself first, even if it's just a small amount, you're essentially investing in your future.
So it's about prioritizing your financial well-being over everything else.
Exactly. It's a conscious decision to put your money toward your long-term goals,
Yeah.
whether that's saving for retirement, investing in a business, just building that financial safety net.
Mm.
Kiyosaki even suggests that, that pressure of having to pay those bills after you've already paid yourself
Right.
can actually be a powerful motivator.
Yeah, I guess so.
It forces you to be more creative and resourceful when it comes to generating income.
It's like he's saying, don't wait for permission to invest in yourself.
Yeah,
Make it a non-negotiable part of your plan.
exactly. And, he doesn't just talk about this. He actually shares his own experiences
Right.
using this principle
Right.
and how it helped him achieve success.
It's inspiring to see how he actually put his own teachings into practice. It's a good reminder that we all have the power to take control,
Yes.
even if it starts with small steps.
Absolutely.
Now, before we dive any deeper into his strategies, I want to take a quick detour
Okay.
and mention a great resource if you're looking for a little extra motivation on your financial journey.
Yeah, for those seeking inspiration and practical tips, check out Affirmify Journey on YouTube.
Yeah, great channel.
They've got tons of videos on personal finance, investing, achieving your financial goals.
They offer some really great insights on developing a positive money mindset
Yeah,
and overcoming those limiting beliefs that I think
Yeah.
a lot of us have.
totally.
All right, so getting back to the book,
Yes.
one thing that really stood out to me was how much he emphasizes continuous learning.
Yes.
It's not just about finding one magic formula and sticking with it.
Right. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is all about being a lifelong learner.
Mm.
Kiyosaki himself, he was always seeking out new knowledge, refining his strategies. He would attend these advanced investment courses. He was always on the lookout for what he called faster formulas.
Faster formulas.
Yeah, ways to accelerate his wealth building.
So he didn't want to just like get to a certain point and stay there.
No.
He was always trying to push it even further.
Exactly. He even took courses for like derivatives traders, commodity options traders, even though he wasn't necessarily applying those techniques directly in his own investing.
Oh, that's interesting.
But he was just always wanting to expand his knowledge base.
Yeah, never stop learning.
Exactly.
And even if it means stepping outside your comfort zone a little bit.
Right. And that ties into another concept he talks about, the power of finding mentors and learning from those who have already achieved what you desire.
Yeah.
He actually gives examples of how he studied the investment strategies of people like Warren Buffett and Donald Trump.
Oh, wow.
He believed in finding these role models, people who embodied the principles and the mindset he wanted to cultivate.
It's like surrounding yourself with people who can really elevate your thinking and show you what's possible.
Exactly, It's about building a network of supportive and knowledgeable individuals who can help us on our journey.
Definitely.
And while learning from others is crucial, Kiyosaki also emphasizes the importance of taking action.
Right.
Knowledge without action is meaningless.
He gives a great example.
Yeah.
He purchased a house for $79,000 and rented it out to cover his kids' college expenses.
That's a great example of putting knowledge into practice. It's
Yeah.
about being resourceful, being creative, taking concrete steps toward your goals.
So inspiring to see how he was able to combine his financial intelligence with decisive action
Yeah.
to get a positive outcome.
It reminds us that we all have that power
Yeah.
to create positive change.
Now, speaking of resources and taking action, I wanted to mention another great tool for continuing your financial education.
Yes, if you're looking for more in-depth knowledge, practical strategies, lingopediamagazine.com offers a wide range of courses and ebooks
fantastic.
on personal finance and investing. They cover topics like budgeting, debt management, real estate, stock market investing.
Really comprehensive.
Yeah, they really break things down into manageable chunks.
Great, great.
It's a fantastic platform to kind of continue your journey toward financial literacy.
And remember, financial literacy is an ongoing process.
It is.
The more you learn,
Yes.
the more confident you'll become in making those decisions about your money.
Absolutely.
All right, so as we continue our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, we're going to be exploring more of his insights and strategies for achieving that financial freedom.
Yes. And we'll be right back,
Stay tuned for the next part of this episode.
where we'll delve into some of the book's more controversial ideas.
Yes, and discuss how they might apply to your personal financial journey.
We'll also explore the criticisms of Kiyosaki's work and discuss why it's so important to be discerning
Right.
when it comes to financial advice.
Absolutely.
So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and we'll be right back to continue our exploration of Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
And while you're waiting, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives.
Yes.
Hit that like button if you're enjoying the discussion.
Yes.
Be sure to share this episode with anyone who might find it insightful.
Please do.
We love hearing from you, so leave a comment below and tell us what's resonating with you the most from Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll see you in a bit.
See you soon. Welcome back to our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
So before the break, we were talking about the importance of taking action and finding those faster formulas for wealth building.
And Kiyosaki really believes that one of the biggest obstacles to financial success is our own fear of losing money.
Makes sense.
He even goes so far as to say that fear can be more paralyzing than actually having no money at all.
Wow, so it's not the lack of resources
It
that
holds us back. It's that fear of making a mistake, the fear of failing, of losing what little we have.
Yeah, I guess it's like we're so afraid of falling down that we never even learn to walk.
Exactly. And that keeps us trapped in that rat race,
Right.
Working for someone else's dream instead of going after our own.
Yeah, he challenges us to really confront that fear and see failure not as the end, but as a learning opportunity.
Exactly. It's like a stepping stone.
Yeah.
He tells that story about his friend, Richard.
Oh, yeah, Richard.
Right. Who had this fantastic real estate deal presented to him.
Yeah.
But he backed out at the last minute.
Because of the fear.
He was too afraid to take the risk.
Wow.
He had done his due diligence, he had the resources, but the fear just got the better of him.
Yeah.
And he ended up missing out on a chance to significantly increase his wealth.
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest risk is not taking any risk at all.
That's right.
It's easy to get caught in that analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Where you're just so afraid to make a move
Totally.
that you end up not doing anything.
Yeah. And it's not just about overcoming fear, it's also about recognizing and managing greed.
Right.
Kiyosaki warns against the dangers of chasing those quick riches, which can lead to impulsive decisions and ultimately sabotage our long-term goals.
Right. It's like that saying, easy come, easy go.
Exactly.
If we're not careful,
Yeah.
that desire for instant gratification can really just derail everything.
Absolutely. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad emphasizes the importance of patience, discipline, and that long-term thinking.
Right. Playing the long game.
Yeah.
Not trying to get rich quick.
Not a get-rich-quick scheme.
One of the things I think that makes this book so thought-provoking is just how much he challenges conventional wisdom.
He does.
He encourages readers to really question everything they've been taught about money and success. Even suggesting that the traditional advice of go to school, get good grades, find a safe, secure job
Right.
might actually be outdated, even risky in today's world.
Yeah, that's a bold statement.
It is, especially coming from someone who values education.
Right. He's not saying education isn't important. He just believes that it needs to evolve to include this financial literacy.
As a core element.
Yeah, as a core element.
He's saying the current system
Yeah.
doesn't prepare us
It does.
for the financial realities of the world.
It's like we're taught how to work for money, but not how to make money work for us.
Right. And that lack of education can have such a huge impact on our lives.
Oh, it does.
And I love how he dives into the mindset of the rich,
Yeah.
arguing that they really play by a different set of rules.
They do.
They focus on building and acquiring those assets, while most people are out there accumulating liabilities that they think are assets.
Yes, and he uses that really powerful analogy to illustrate this.
Yeah.
The briar patch.
The briar patch, right?
The fear and greed.
Yeah, representing those challenges and risks that come with building wealth.
And while most people avoid those challenges, the rich see them as opportunities for growth and learning.
I like that, embracing the briar patch.
Yes. Right.
Not running away from it.
And he acknowledges that it's easier said than done.
Right.
He actually talks about how his own fear almost made him reject a deal.
Wow.
That turned out to be a turning point in his life.
It's so easy to let fear hold us back.
It is.
Especially when it comes to something as important as our finances.
Absolutely. But it's also a reminder that we have the power to overcome those fears.
Right.
And make choices that move us toward our goals.
And he also talks about not letting cynicism and doubt cloud our judgment.
Right. He shares an anecdote about a
Mhm.
friend who missed out on a really great real estate deal because he was too cynical to believe it was possible.
Wow.
It's easy to fall into that trap of thinking that all the good opportunities have already been taken or that we're not smart enough or lucky enough to
All
succeed.
right.
But Kiyosaki encourages us to challenge those thoughts
Hmm.
and to believe in our own potential.
Believe in yourself
That's right. And to be open-minded. Yeah.
and willing to explore new possibilities.
And sometimes those opportunities come disguised as problems or challenges.
They do.
So it's about having that vision
Hmm.
to see the potential where others might overlook it.
Absolutely. It's about having the courage to take action, even when others are hesitant.
That could be scary, though,
It can.
because what if you're wrong?
Right, and that's why he talks about being willing to fail.
Yeah,
He believes that failure is an essential part of the learning process,
totally. Especially when it comes to investing, I feel like.
especially when it comes to investing.
You
Yeah.
have to be willing to lose sometimes.
He tells a story about how he lost money on a deal in Texas,
Oh, wow.
but instead of letting that defeat him,
Yeah.
he used it as a learning experience and eventually turned it into a win.
So it's not about avoiding failure.
It's
It's
all-
about learning from it.
Exactly. It's about turning those setbacks into opportunities for growth.
Yeah, he compares successful investors to Texans.
He does, saying they have this great attitude towards risk, reward, and failure.
Yeah, they're not afraid to take chances,
Hmm.
and they understand that setbacks are inevitable.
They're part of the process.
That's right. It's about having that grit and resilience to pick yourself up after a fall and keep moving forward.
I love that. And I think he makes another interesting point about not playing it too safe.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about how diversification,
Yeah.
while it's often touted as a way to minimize risk.
Right. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
But he's like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
He argues that when you have limited resources,
Yeah.
it can actually hinder your ability to build wealth.
Because you're spreading yourself too thin.
Exactly. You're not putting enough energy
Mhm.
into any one area.
He uses the analogy of walking.
Right.
You have to lean forward.
You have to become unbalanced
Right.
to move forward.
And so instead of spreading our resources too thin,
Mm-hmm.
he recommends focusing on mastering one formula or strategy
Yeah.
before moving on to the next.
He shares how he dedicated himself to mastering real estate investing
Mm-hmm.
before exploring other areas like the stock market.
Yeah, it's about becoming an expert
Mm.
in a specific field
In a specific niche.
rather than trying to be a jack of all trades.
Right. And once you've mastered that formula, it's important to keep learning, keep adapting.
He talks about how he would attend those advanced investment courses,
Mm-hmm.
even those outside his comfort zone,
Even those outside his comfort zone.
to gain new perspectives.
Right. He was constantly seeking out new and innovative ways to build wealth.
Yeah. He was never satisfied with the status quo.
Never. Never.
And that's where this concept of finding a faster formula comes in.
Mm-hmm.
It's about pushing
The
boundaries,
boundaries, yeah.
challenging assumptions,
Challenging assumptions, yeah.
finding new and more efficient ways
More efficient ways. Mm-hmm.
to achieve our financial goals.
Absolutely.
But that requires a lot of self-discipline,
It does?
you know?
Kiyosaki's very clear about this.
Mm-hmm.
He says people with low self-esteem and a low tolerance for financial pressure will never be rich.
That's a pretty bold statement.
It is. He's not sugarcoating it.
Yeah.
He learned from his rich dad that the world will push you around
Wow.
if you lack internal control and discipline.
So it's about developing that inner strength,
Yes.
that resilience,
Resilience. Mm-hmm.
to withstand those challenges and setbacks that are going to come,
That are going to come, yeah.
inevitably.
And that ties back to that concept of paying yourself first.
Yeah,
It might seem counterintuitive,
it does.
but it's about shifting our mindset
Mm-hmm.
and prioritizing our financial well-being.
Putting ourselves first.
He encourages us to let the creditors scream, let the government scream if they come up short after we've paid ourselves first.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's about putting ourselves first.
Well, yes.
Even when it feels uncomfortable.
Even when it feels uncomfortable.
Or goes against everything we've been taught.
It does. It goes against everything we've been taught.
And he argues that the pressure to pay those debts then becomes this motivator
Yes.
to find ways to generate more income.
That's right. It forces us to think outside the box
Yeah.
and find solutions we might not have considered otherwise.
And he points out that most people focus on borrowing money
Right.
to acquire the things they want
Yeah. Mhm.
instead of focusing on creating money.
That's right. It's a short-term solution
Yeah.
that often leads to long-term financial struggles.
And I think one of the most powerful takeaways from Rich Dad, Poor Dad is this idea that the earlier we can train ourselves and those we love to be masters of money,
Mm-hmm.
the better equipped we'll be to navigate the complexities of personal finance.
Absolutely. It's about breaking free from that cycle of debt and dependence and creating a life of abundance.
Yeah, abundance and freedom.
Absolutely.
It's about understanding that money is a powerful tool
It is.
that can be used for good or for evil.
Yeah.
And it's about making a conscious choice to use that tool to create a life we love.
I love that. And one of the ways we can do that is by finding those heroes and mentors who inspire us
Yeah.
and show us what's possible.
Kiyosaki talks about studying the investment strategies of figures like Warren Buffett and Donald Trump,
He does.
not just because of their financial success,
Yeah.
but because they represent a different way of thinking about money.
They represent a different mindset.
Right. So it's about finding those role models
Mm.
who embody the principles and the mindset that we want to cultivate.
Absolutely. And it's not just about passively observing them.
Right.
It's about actively seeking their guidance and wisdom, whether through books, interviews, or personal connections.
Right. Surrounding ourselves with people who elevate our thinking and push us to grow.
And Kiyosaki also believes in the power of teaching others what we've learned.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he says that the act of teaching not only reinforces our own understanding, but it opens us up to new insights and perspectives.
Yeah, when you have to explain something to someone else, you really have to know it.
You really have to know it.
And you might discover new things in the process.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful cycle of learning and growth.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dives
Yeah.
into Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Yeah.
I want to emphasize that the book's not just about accumulating wealth.
It's not.
It's about achieving that financial freedom.
That's right. That freedom to pursue our passions, spend time with loved ones, live a life of purpose.
Yeah, it's about breaking free from that rat race
Yes.
and creating a life where money works for us
Mm-hmm.
instead of us working for money.
Absolutely. And
Right.
while the book offers a wealth of insights,
Yeah.
it's essential to remember that it's just one perspective.
Right. We should always be critical thinkers.
You know,
Do our own research.
yeah, take what resonates
Mhm.
and leave the rest.
Exactly. And find what works best for our individual circumstances. And never stop learning.
Never stop learning.
That's right.
The world of finance is constantly evolving,
It is.
and staying ahead of the curve requires continuous education and adaptation.
Absolutely. So we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive,
We'd have.
but we've only scratched the surface
We've only scratched the surface.
of what Rich Dad, Poor Dad has to offer.
Stay tuned,
So stay tuned for the final part of this episode,
where we'll explore some of the more controversial ideas
Yes.
in the book.
including Kiyosaki's views on taxes and corporations.
We'll also delve deeper into his personal journey,
Yeah.
his struggles,
Mhm.
his triumphs,
Yeah.
and discuss some of the criticisms and controversies
Yeah.
surrounding his work.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We've talked about so much already, from the importance of financial literacy to the power of taking action, and so much more.
And now it's time to kind of get into some of the more, I guess you could say, controversial aspects of Kiyosaki's work. He really pushes people to think outside the box.
Yeah, he definitely challenges conventional wisdom, that's for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
One of the things that I thought was interesting was his idea about, working for free early in your career,
Oh, yeah.
which when you first hear that, you're like,
It sounds crazy.
yeah, why would you ever do that?
Why work for free?
But his point is, you gain so much experience, you get so much knowledge
Mm-hmm.
by working with someone who is already successful,
Alongside successful people,
even if you're not getting a paycheck.
even if you're not getting paid.
It's about seeing beyond just the limits of that traditional job.
It's about the long game,
Yeah.
building assets, creating a system where money works for you.
Yeah, and it's a mindset shift
Totally.
from being an employee to
Mhm.
being an owner.
Yeah, it's not about trading time for money.
Right.
It's about building something that generates income even when you're not actively working.
And sometimes to do that, you have to take unconventional paths, be willing to learn from mentors.
Yeah, find those people who have already achieved what you want
Right.
and soak up their knowledge.
And he talks a lot about fear too,
Oh, yeah.
and how it affects our financial decisions.
Fear is huge.
It's huge.
He argues that fear of losing money can be more paralyzing than having no money at all.
Wow.
It's a really interesting point, right?
It's not just about the tangible loss.
No, it's about the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of not being good enough.
You said it.
And those fears, they hold us back,
They do. They prevent us from taking risks.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells that story about Richard.
Oh, poor Richard.
Missed out on that incredible real estate deal because he let those fears get the better of him.
He let fear and doubt cloud his judgment.
Yeah, and that's a cautionary tale for all of us.
It is. We've all been there, right?
Who wants to play it too safe?
Yeah.
You got to embrace the possibility of failure
You got to be willing to fail, to make mistakes.
as a stepping stone to success.
It's all part of the process, you know?
All right, let's talk about taxes.
Ooh, tax.
Because this is one of the areas where I think he sparks a lot of debate.
Yeah, he gets a lot of flack for his views on taxes.
He does. But we're not saying whether we agree with him or not.
No, we're just presenting what's in the book.
Exactly. And we encourage you to do your own research.
Definitely.
But he's often criticized for advocating for minimizing tax liabilities.
Yeah, some people see that as unethical.
Right. But it's important to remember that he's not saying to break the law.
Absolutely not. He's all about working within the system.
He's just emphasizing understanding the tax code and using strategies that are legal
Legal strategies, yes.
to your advantage.
He argues that the rich have a different understanding of taxes than the rest of us.
Right. They see it as a game
Mm-hmm.
to be played strategically,
Not a burden.
and they use legal structures
The corporations
to protect their assets.
and minimize their tax burden.
And that brings us to another interesting topic: corporations.
Ah, yes, incorporating your business.
It's something that he's a big advocate for
He is. He argues that corporations offer a lot of advantages.
when it comes to taxes, liability protection,
Mm-hmm.
separating your personal finances
Protecting your assets.
from your business.
And again, he encourages people to seek expert advice on this.
Always do your research
Always, always.
and make sure you're operating within the law.
Absolutely. It's about being smart, understanding the rules of the game.
Yeah. So we've highlighted a lot of Kiyosaki's key ideas and arguments in Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
A lot of food for thought.
It's important to note that the book has received its fair share of criticism.
It has. And that's okay. It's good to have different perspectives.
Absolutely.
Some argue that his advice is too simplistic.
Right. Or that he overemphasizes real estate.
Yeah, putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak.
And, as with any financial advice, it's important to approach it with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Always, always.
Do your research, talk to experts, and make decisions that are right for you.
It's your money, your life, your choices.
But even with the criticisms, Rich Dad, Poor Dad has had a huge impact
It has.
on how people think about money.
Millions of people have read this book.
Millions. And it's really, I think, sparked a conversation
It's a conversation starter for sure.
about financial literacy, about taking control of our finances.
It's about empowering people.
And whether you agree with everything he says or not, there's no denying he's made us think about money differently.
He's challenged the status quo.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, we encourage you to continue exploring these ideas.
Yeah, keep learning.
Challenge your own beliefs about money.
And find what works for you.
Remember, financial literacy is an ongoing journey,
It's a lifelong pursuit.
and the more you learn, the more empowered you'll be.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
And don't forget those resources we talked about
Yes, a Firmify Journey on YouTube.
for that motivational boost,
And lingopediamagazine.com
for those courses and ebooks.
to help you on your financial journey.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive,
We hope you did.
be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Yes, please subscribe.
Share it with your friends.
Tell everyone.
Give us a like.
Hit that like button.
And we'll see you on the next episode.
See you next time.